Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to Step Back Tonight. I got Romeo here, a rare treat. Hello. He is much harder to move than Phoebe is, so he might actually stick around. But hello! My name is Tristan Johnson. I'm the host of the YouTube channels Step Back History and Tristan Won't Shut Up. And I stream on Mondays from 12 to 2 Eastern with Mia Mulder, where we talk about the discourse on the internet. And then Tuesday night from 7 to 9 is Step Back Tonight, the show you're watching right this moment, where we kind of just chill and have a nice little evening sesh, talk about stuff. You know, probably talking a lot tonight about how we're living in the late Republican era of the United States. So, the tail end of the Republican era of the United States. That's a small R. And then we'll see what the imperial era of the United States looks like. That'll be fun. Yeah, and then Friday, we have The Reactor, which has a new time. It's now going to be at 12 Eastern until 2. So, if you want to get some Reactor footage in, you go to the Reactor channel in the Discord and feed the beast. We watch some stuff together. We hang out. It's a fun stream. And that's every Friday from 12 to 2. I go by he, him pronouns. You can find my work at stepbackhistory.com or tristanwon'tshutup.com or tristanpj on Twitter. And, yeah. If you want, sorry. Hi. Okay. I guess I wasn't going to have Romeo as long as I thought. If you are a Twitch Prime subscriber, or an Amazon Prime subscriber, I should say, and you, because you wanted to watch The Man in the High Castle, another very useful TV show to be thinking about in our current moment, then you get automatically, for being an Amazon Prime member, a free membership with, or a free monthly subscription for one Twitch creator. And if you don't use that money, Jeff Bezos does keep it, and yes, he does have sex with it. Sorry to say, it's just this is the facts. If you do use it, Jeff Bezos can't have sex with your money, and you help an independent Twitch creator try and make ends meet. Like if you helped Step Back, for example, you would be helping cats have food and rent be paid. My latest video on Step Back is about the right and the abuse of history, and that comes and that's already out. The next Step Back video, though, should be coming out later this week. I basically have to decide whether I want a new Tristan Won't Shut Up or a new Step Back first, because I'm going to record 2 videos tomorrow. And this one's going to be about Vietnam and the birth of white supremacy, or the birth of the white power movement. And on Tristan Won't Shut Up, my most recent video is about innovation, and it's about motivation, and about how markets and financial incentives actually don't help with those. In fact, they hurt. And my next video on Tristan Won't Shut Up is going to be a sort of post-mortem on the 2020 election that happened last week. So I've been thinking about it quite a bit. Yeah. That's everything I've got. What else we got going on the internet? So the reason I've been talking about coups and stuff is because there's been some super sketchy stuff coming out of the Trump administration, even just today, with Mike Pompeo and like the budget, and like Mike Pence going on some rather interestingly timed vacations that get canceled at the last second, and a meeting between CIA Director Gina Haspel and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. All of which are a whole lot to process. So we got H2O Melons, hello. Civil War week by week. Is that just now? Am I the only one on Twitch channel alone? I don't think so. Did you know the first apes evolved in Europe? That history YouTuber I mentioned yesterday, I figured he was alt-right because in the video he said Europeans should be proud of that some of the ancestors before even split off from chimps, even in Europe. I did not know that. That does not sound that it is correct. Thank you for feeding my anxiety. You're welcome. America is so fucked up, I really fear a coup and more unrest. I mean, okay, so there's a couple things you could say. One, coups do fail from time to time. And I don't know if Trump has... We don't know, like, even if Trump is trying, like, a straight-up, like, coup, we'll, like, because, like, when it comes to, like, the numbers, I think Biden can still win the election. Like, the lawsuits alone are not going to flip the election. He would have to flip like 5 states to win the election, and that's not going to happen. So, and like there's a article today that came out about how lawyers who are working on these lawsuits are like commenting on how very like how weak the case they're making is. And say that this is like not even a real lawsuit. They're just doing it so that they can draw up media doubt, or get people to doubt the narrative of the election. So what really is going to happen, or what we're really interested in seeing, is what the next step after that is. Today, there's been some escalations because he fired the Secretary of Defense and replaced a whole bunch of other military high-ranking people with basically sycophants. Which, controlling the military, pretty big deal if you want to, do a coup. But we don't know if it's going to be successful. We should have guessed that when the Republican Party finally got to the point where they realized they can't expand their electorate anymore, that this might be the next thing they try. We'll see. Apparently some people in Trump's inner circle are saying he might run in 2024. We're sure we're not inviting in that nightmare you told us about a while ago. I did have that nightmare that Trump pulled a Grover Cleveland, and I could totally see it happening, especially if the next 4 years are made up of Biden just getting obstructed at every single point, and everything just being worse, everything being nasty, the government shutting down every year, just endless chaos. And I could see Trump swooping in and being like, well, the election was stolen from me, I deserve to come back. And then what's it called? Because that'd be like his second non-consecutive term, he might actually I don't know, he might argue that he should be able to get another second term, kind of like what Putin did, but we'll see. I don't think he would live that long anyway. We'll see. What's it called? Right now, there's a urge to catastrophize, but also there's a lot of things that have never happened before happening right now. So this is one of those situations where we should be paying very close attention to everything going on and be very, very critical. Scrutinize closely. The end of the U.S. Republic? What? You don't think? What's it called? If there's a coup, that's what's it called. America's a dictatorship then. Will revisionism regarding the Vietnam War be talked about? It is specifically about... This video that I'm making is specifically about how the white power movement, which is sort of like this term that was made with... the white power movement is essentially an alliance that was put together between, Nazis and your typical white supremacists in America. Most notably, it's from... an alliance between the American Nazi Party, or the American Nazis and American Klans members, because they actually didn't like each other for quite a while, because a lot of the Klan was made up of World War II veterans. So after Vietnam, oh, I don't know why I'm so yawny. After Vietnam, there was also a whole bunch of, racist white people who received military training and also PTSD and all this kind of, and an attempt at like a kind of veterans bill that got them easy ability to buy cheap land in the middle of nowhere. So what happened is that like starting in like the late 70s, you had the Klan and the Nazis start to develop a sort of network of non-centralized paramilitary groups that expanded around the country, training in these plots of like empty, like sometimes like swampland and shit like that, purchased by these Vietnam veterans, who are also then training people in like paramilitary techniques that they learned in the U.S. military. Sometimes they often either stole or had access to like military surplus weapons, fully automatic weapons, things like that. And then on top of that, they had a lot of crossover with like mercenaries and people who were like, you know, fighting to preserve white supremacy in places like Rhodesia, or to fight against democracy in Central America, and like, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so it's sort of like what my next video is about. Who's going to win this election? Well, the election is basically already called. Joe Biden won the election. He won it on Saturday. The problem is who's going to be president next. So, whether or not Donald Trump's going to pull a coup is currently an ongoing thing. It seems like he's doing it. Whether he'll be successful is the question. That's our sort of situation right now. That's a thing we are living through. Okay. Oh, here, this one's before. Okay. Hello, everybody. Turkey had a failed one a few years ago, yeah? Yes, back in, like, I think 2018 or something. Hey, Comrade Airless Arc. Thank you for following. Welcome to the Orc Gang. Welcome to the zone of whatever it is we're doing. If Mitch refuses to let Biden not pick up hard right-wing heads of government departments, Biden could just pick someone progressive who already works there and make them acting head. The Legal Podcast explained that in their last episode. Do you think Biden will actually do something like that? Or do you think he'll just capitulate with whatever Mitch wants? We'll see. Biden seems to think that he can work with Mitch, and he wants to make a really big performance about, like, reaching across the aisle in bipartisanism. But Mitch McConnell hasn't even, like, recognized the results of the election yet. And if the Republicans are sort of, like, working themselves off of the assumption that this is an illegitimate presidency, maybe he'll learn the lesson that Obama took, like, over half of his administration to learn. But maybe not. I don't know. Haven't the military made it clear that they won't support Trump? Yeah, that was until he replaced all the heads of the military with new people just today. What do you think may happen with Trump, given it could happen here and your knowledge in history? I would listen myself, but I can't take the anxiety. See, this is the thing about what's going on right now that I can't speak to well, which is that there hasn't been a coup of such a large country before. So I don't know what's going to happen with Trump. There's a range of outcomes. The most positive outcome, it seems, is that if he tries all of these legal things and it doesn't work, and sort of it becomes clear to him that there's no way for him to actually do a coup, then he might just be like, all right, I accept it. I'm going to be a big bastard about it, but I accept it. And that the transition happens as expected. The other options are less good. I could see all the way to Trump trying to push a military coup. And like trying to basically, like, because apparently the resignation of the Secretary of Defense might have been about sending troops into Washington, D.C., which is very heavy coup territory, and that's why like he refused to do it. And if that happens, I don't know. I have a feeling that a very unpopular leader declaring himself president despite losing the election might trigger something. I don't know what it is, especially if like ranks break in the military or whatnot. But then you're in civil war territory. You're in a situation where it's either civil war or America ceases to be even a facade of a democracy. In which case, we have fully entered the cool zone, and I don't know where you go from there. My hope, and the thing is that right now we are filling in a lot of space based on things that we don't know fully, and that we're misunderstanding the situation. That Trump is just being is just playing a big game, trying to intimidate people. But when his court cases turn out to be completely empty and not work, that maybe he doesn't concede, but he leaves office anyway. I don't know. But we've got, what's it called? Between now and January, a lot of things could happen, and I would be irresponsible if I were to tell you what is to happen. I think anybody would, because basically, as I think I said this on the stream in the election, is that during the election for the serfs, and I said, basically at this point, we are sailing into uncharted waters. And so historians are not the people that really need to be looked at right now. It's the very and also if this is like into civil war territory, I don't know how that would look, because I don't know how that would actually break down. And it's very different from the way that It Could Happen Here was written, where It Could Happen Here was more about the state losing its ability to maintain control because of mass unrest from all over the political spectrum, which is not what's happening right now. Hello, Levon Wonder. Thank you for following. Welcome to the Org Gang. So, hello, Punk NS Punk. Punkinspunk. Welcome to Punkinspunk. Thank you for following. Welcome to the Orc Gang. So, yeah. You pronounced my name right. His name was Levon. He was a good man. It's a classic. Hey, Call Your Mothers. Thank you for the subscription. Much appreciated. You just gave away some of your money that you had already given to Jeff Bezos. You just prevented Jeff Bezos from having sex with your money. So congratulations on that. All right. In the Constitution, there are loopholes where Trump wouldn't even have to win the Electoral College or the popular vote and still win a second term. Oh, fun. See, this is like the problem about the Constitution, is that it was set up with like this idea that it was going to be this like temporary document to just sort of fix the current political situation in the United States at the time they wrote the Constitution, and that people in the future would fix it. But then everyone decided to start worshiping it like it was some sort of fucking god, and so now it's like it's like too reverent that you cannot criticize and you cannot change things. But the fact that it's like the oldest Constitution and it's very, very out of date. There hasn't even been an amendment in like 30 years now, or almost 30 years. Do you think Hitler would have been voted out if there had been another election after that one that brought him into power in 1933? Like, what if there was another election in 1937? I wouldn't think so, because he was pretty popular at that point. 1937, he had annexed something. He probably had 1937, I think he like remilitarized the Sudetenland by that point, at the very least. And Germany he was making Germany great again. He was building autobahns, and there was economic growth, and yeah. So I think he would have done fine. Do you not think the Supreme Court situation will keep the libs from relaxing? I don't know. At this point, like, if Trump challenges the election and it very obviously, like, and it goes up to the Supreme Court, I mean, the Supreme Court will probably rule with Trump. Like, these are very weak cases. It would be so obviously transparently corrupt that I don't know what libs would do, because liberals, their entire worldview is based on the state being legitimate, and if it's doing something crooked, you just need to vote to fix it. And they already voted, and voting didn't fix it. And so they're going to be like their thoughts are going to be like, oh, wait until 2022. Then you're going to hear from the people. It's like, Jesus Christ. What I'm hoping is that these cases appear to be really weak, and that they probably wouldn't even make it up to the Supreme Court. They probably wouldn't even hear it. Joe Biden president is fake news. I mean, he's president-elect. If it wasn't like, wasn't the fact that Trump was literally doing a fascist coup of the country right now, Joe Biden would be the one who'd be the incoming president in January. Fact check, Joe Biden president. Whatever the fuck that means. How the typical perception of the Vietnam is similar to the stabbed in the back myth. Oh yeah, that's definitely part of it. The Vietnam narrative of, like, the government abandoned the troops, and that if they had just stayed the course, they would have won, is a huge one in the white power movement. And it's a huge, like, that sort of story and the sort of virulent anti-communism that the Vietnam experience built in a whole bunch of, like, white supremacists who went to Vietnam is sort of the thing. Like, anti-communism became the thing that brought the Nazis and the KKK together. That was, like, their thing. All right. Could you elaborate on exactly what he's trying to do? Sure. So Donald Trump lost the election. He just, what's it called? He did not win. He got like 4 or 5 million fewer votes. He what's it called? He has lost, like, Biden is now above 270 by several states, and it could be at least one more. So, or one or two more. I can't remember if Arizona's been called yet. But some of them are close. And so what Trump is trying to do is he's trying to do a whole bunch of lawsuits in these states to try and change the election results. Not recounts. There's a recount already happening in Georgia. I think he's still trying to push for a recount in Wisconsin or something. But what Trump's lawsuits are trying to do is trying to make an argument that the absentee ballots, because of COVID and stuff like that, there was absentee ballots that were allowed to be mailed in, which several states have been doing for decades. Trying to invalidate them, especially the ones that are postmarked November 3rd, but did not arrive until after November 3rd. His basis on this, his legal basis on this is his, what's it called? Like, he's fully within his right to call for a recount, and so, like, I'm fine with that. But these cases, like, he's trying to make these cases that there was, like, no transparency in the count of the election, which he tried to do several lawsuits to intercept with, until, like, they were instantly thrown out because he did stuff like try to petition the Pennsylvania government to let people from the Trump campaign scrutineer the vote, which is a thing that if there was nobody there scrutineering the vote on behalf of the Trump campaign, that would be extremely sketchy. The problem is that there were people there from the Trump campaign, because there's people there from every campaign. That's what scrutineering is. It's part of the electoral process. I've done it before. So they were petitioning they were basically petitioning the government to stop counting votes until they do a thing that they've already done. So that means that they don't care about actually winning the lawsuit. They care about the lawsuit being in the news. That's basically the thing. And there's, like, a push to try and throw out a bunch of ballots in different states. They seem to be failing. They seem to be getting tossed out pretty regularly, which is good. Now the next step is that they're trying to do lawsuits to stop the certification of these votes, which are going to be happening soon, which is when they say, okay, this is the count, this is the final results, this is the official designation, no longer projected, this is who won, and they're trying to stop that. They still, again, have, thank you, Doodle Muffin, for following, they still have no reason for it. They have literally no good argument. All these lawsuits are like completely devoid of content. So, if that doesn't work, I think it seems like what Trump's trying to do now is get the Republicans on board to kind of feed into this narrative that the election was stolen, even though all these lawsuits are getting tossed out. And hopefully, when the day comes to change power, he'll just keep being president, and there won't be enough people in the government to oppose him to throw him out. And then I don't know what happens after that. But that seems to be what he's trying to do. I didn't know you did streams. Yeah, I do. 3 a week. Don't worry, Trump will be back in 2024 because he already said he was running in 2024. Yeah, but, believe it when you see it, too. That kind of... If Trump gets escorted out of the White House in January, that's going to be a tough sell to try and run for president again. Maybe he can do it, but I have a feeling that might, Plus, he'll be very, very, very old. Hello, congratulations with your neighbor country's close shave from fascism. I don't know if it's close shave. They're not out of the woods yet. I think that one of the... someone's saying Trump fired a bunch of people and replaced them with unqualified loyalists, and that's true. One of them is an intern. It's really weird. What do I think is most likely at this point? I don't know. And I know that apparently you can't sleep at night if I don't tell you what the future is, but I'm not a diviner. I'm not a soothsayer or a fortune teller. And right now, there's not a lot of precedent for the things that we're seeing right now, so there's nothing I can really tell you about what's going to happen next. Mark Esposito was critical of Trump's use of military for political purposes. Yeah, that's why he got fired. Why do you think teenagers should have jobs? You said your parents told you to get a fast food job when you were a teenager. I don't think most adults would have to do jobs like that. Should have to do jobs like that. Why do people think teenagers should have jobs? Because Protestants have this weird thought that work is life affirming, and that your value as a human being is based on your capacity to do work. It's bullshit. But there's this idea that parents think that if they force their children into child labor, that somehow that's going to make them appreciate money more and make them a more, make them appreciate work more and stuff. It's dumb and wrong and fairly often intervenes with the studies of, young people. But it is a thing. It is what it is. It's part of fucked up Protestant culture. Alright, I'm just gonna ban you, Mitch Connor. Get your weird QAnon bullshit out of here. Okay. The military is obviously on the side of Biden and American institutions. Biden is not a threat to them, and frankly, they probably prefer him. Yeah, but if in the military, if your commander tells you to, support Trump, what happens at that point? And if it ends up being not unified, doesn't that end up with two militaries and a civil war, which is exactly how, like, Syria started. Syria started because the military defected over not wanting to bomb protesters with, like, their, like, with their air force, and it turned into a civil war. So when is the coup to remove Trudeau going to start? Oh boy, that's not going to happen. Conservatives are just whiny little children, and it's not going to happen. Should TV shows acknowledge COVID or ignore it? The medical drama I follow has made a major point, and it's depressing me. I think it depends on the show. If it works for the show, go for it. Who do you think is the worst Prime Minister, Harper or R.B. Bennett? I don't really know what Bennett did, except for royally fuck up, what's it called? Royally fuck up the Great Depression stuff. But I don't know. I can't imagine. I don't know much other things about R.B. Bennett. Harper sucked, but yeah, I don't know if Bennett, like, secretly, like, massacred a bunch of people or something, and I just don't know about it because I don't really know Canadian history. Someone who lives in PA can tell you that they're not winning here. Court case against the state. That's good. That's definitely what I'm hearing too. They just want to draw up, like, they just want to turn up the heat. They want to fuck up the narrative, I guess, is what they're trying to do. Faithless electors, yeah, that could also be a thing that's scary. I honestly doubt that Supreme Court will rule with Trump. I don't know. It's kind of why they pushed Amy Coney Barrett so fast. Would Alberta be a red state or a blue state if it joined the U.S.? I think it'd be a battleground state. Because Alberta does have a left. They do have an NDP presence. It does sometimes win elections, very occasionally. And by that I mean they've won exactly one time. So my guess is that it would be like one of those states that typically votes Republican, but sometimes you'll surprise you. Though also I don't know if like if you had to move the Overton window into American politics also, I don't know how many Albertans who are conservative voters are also ready for American conservatives, because even if they're conservatives, they might not be like weird psychopaths like American conservatives, which might make things a little bit more complicated. You see Crystal Ball making fun of libs who call Trump a fascist. Yeah, her Crystal Ball let her down on that one. Crystal Ball is weird, and she's very sus, in my opinion. The fact she does a show with like a Nazi is like, red flag number one. What's the most realistic depiction of fascism in fictional work? I'd go with V for Vendetta. V for Vendetta was a pretty good one. It's a slow and incompetent coup attempt, really pathetic. We shall see. America's civil institutions are very weak. They're old, and usually that means that they're stable, but I think that they're also they've been made weak enough now that it could possibly happen. Is it plausible that Mitch siding with Trump to try and get a high turnout in the Senate runoffs and prevent a Democratic majority and thus prevent Puerto Rico from acquiring statehood? Yeah, I guess that's a thing on the table now, too. Possibly, but we'll see. We'll see what happens when Mitch McConnell's with when the rubber hits the road, and Mitch McConnell has to back not just his average amount of authoritarianism, but an actual fascist takeover of the United States. Love your channel. It's helped me a ton as a history undergrad. Best wishes from Ireland. Well, thank you, Fiek McCarran. I probably fucked that up so much. Trump might be hoping the Supreme Court will overturn the election, but it won't. The ruling class want a more reliable face to handle their power and money in a more discreet way. You guys, I mean, that's very possible. You're just being very, what's it called? You're being very optimistic. I just found out that Alex Minassian, the guy who did the Toronto van attack, is just going to trial now. And it's like, what? He did that. I remember because it happened not too far from me. I was actually out and on the same street where it happened, just about maybe a kilometer south. And can't believe they're doing that now. It's been like 2 years. Okay. A while back, David Pakman said that they would try to get American patriots to support raising taxes by describing and investing in your country. Thoughts on that idea? I mean, David Pakman tries. It's cute that he's thinking that. I think that to unwrite, the Reagan era low tax, it's against the material interests of rich people, and so they'll never let that narrative pass through into the media. Since the media is owned by the wealthy, I don't see that kind of argument passing through. It's sort of like the weird people who are trying to rebrand environmentalism as protecting our natural assets, and it's like, okay, sure, you could try, but I don't know if it's gonna work. How are you doing today? Apparently I'm just yawning a lot. I feel like my energy is gone. I don't know what happened. I did do a lot of work today, but either way, this is why I only do the 2-hour stream instead of the 3-hour stream, because on Tuesdays are work days for me, so I work all day long and then have to stream all night long, and it's like, oh boy, just wanna vibe after the day's done. But that's fine. That's why it's supposed to be the chill stream. How can we find your scholarly work so we can read them and cite them for our own papers? I never published anything, so I don't have any scholarly work. I had a supervisor who was like, don't really bother with that stuff until you're in your third year. So I never really worked on any articles or anything like that, and so and I never finished my PhD, so I don't really have anything. I have two master's theses, but I don't think they're even in the institutional repository or anything like that I could even show you. Who is that? Swamp Goth. That's such a good name. Thank you for following. Welcome to York Gang. All right. What we should do is between now and 2024 make a law that says an impeached president cannot run for re-election. Well, now there's an idea. I'm not sure. I don't know if he actually got. I guess he got impeached because the House did it, but the Senate didn't do it. A few years ago, Joe Lieberman was on MSNBC defending Trump's lawsuits. Of course, Joe Lieberman would. The thing is about Joe Lieberman, you say he's Gore's running mate in 1999. That's true, but also Joe Lieberman left the Democratic Party in the mid 2000s to become an independent because he was mad about how far left the Democratic Party's been going. So Joe Lieberman, and then he retired from politics as an independent. So yeah, what's it called? He has long left the Democratic side of the aisle. What if we're doing anarchism and things aren't going perfectly? Do we have to abandon the whole thing? That's what people tell me. That if you don't fix all problems, if an anarchist society is not as good as our society today, but also has to be perfect and solve all problems with no possible experimentation, then all of anarchism needs to be abandoned. This is what I'm learning. I need you to become a Roman-style augur and read the signs to tell me whether the future is blessed by the gods or not. Well, I can definitely tell you the future is most definitely not blessed by the gods. I thought you were a halfling diviner with the lucky feet. Ah. I used to have one of those. I used to DM for somebody who played one of those. But then he got bored of the character and switched to a warlock. But I did for a very long time play with a halfling diviner with lucky. And man, it was a lot. So rumors he had a stroke a couple months back. What? What if Trump says if I can't be... I feel like if he had a stroke a few months back, he wouldn't be fighting so hard to stay president, but that's just me. What if Trump says if I can't be president, no one can, and decides to launch a nuclear strike against Russia, but Pence walks in on him about to open the nuclear suitcase and tackles him to the ground? What would happen next? That is a very weird scenario you just outlined. Trump literally never exercises, so I imagine that he could take it away. But attempting to commit mass murder is a crime, even if you are president, and I imagine that that would be a thing. What do you think about grades in school? I made a whole video about that. Grades are dumb. Grades are a way to just try and acclimate children to the hierarchies of capitalism. They're a way to just try and determine students being better than other students so that they can rule it over them and use it to, just get us used to thinking that there are people who are better than you and people who are worse than you and that you should feel better than other people. What's a good porn site? Definitely 9gag. He's a halfling enchanter with the lucky feet. I'm not a halfling. I'm like 6'1". Come on. In a video about a potential American Civil War, which scenario are we closest to? And how is our current situation different? Now, there's an interesting question. If I remember correctly, let me go 2020 election. Here it is. Oh, wait, that's my script I made today. Let me see what I wrote in my notes. So scenario 1 was that Biden just straight up wins. And it's not really contestable, and that Trump basically spends the last years trying to set up somebody else to run for president and tries to basically try to get away with all of his crimes. I don't think that's happening. I think the narrow Biden win is the one. So what I wrote here is slim Biden victory in popular and EC vote. Trump campaign encourages state legislatures in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan to certify a separate state of electors in support of Donald Trump, which could be a thing. Despite opposition from the Biden campaigns and the Democrats, both Michigan and Pennsylvania's legislatures agree to send 2 sets of electors in support of Trump. Trump campaign engaged in a large and coordinated disinformation campaign, primarily focused on the legitimacy of mail-in ballots. We're seeing that happening. This campaign used the media to amplify stolen election, voter fraud narratives, and launched noisy DOJ investigation into voter fraud, which is exactly what's happening. Barr also took action to stop ballot counting. Trump campaign surrogates released false information that Joe Biden had suffered a heart attack in an attempt to undermine perception of his fitness to hold office. That hasn't happened. The Biden campaign quickly dispelled this information, but Facebook kept posts about the heart attack up. Okay. Despite all these moves, during the first week after the election, the Biden campaign maintains a narrow lead. Trump campaign understands that the most effective strategy was not just to create more doubt in the validity of the votes of the election, but also to sow more chaos and disruption, that President Trump could position himself as the only one capable of ensuring law and order. Trump campaign stoked chaos and mayhem by urging local police forces to break up Black Lives Matter and pro-Biden demonstrations. and encouraging alt-right/Boogaloo supporters to confront liberal protesters. That part hasn't happened yet, but I could, that was a scenario that we were in. Or that's a scenario, this seems like the closest scenario. Biden campaign framed Trump's actions as ugly and divisive, engaging independents and moderate Republicans to speak out against the threat. Mitt Romney tries to convince Republican senators to vote for Biden victory. After first failing, Romney prevails and convinces 3 GOP senators to recognize Biden as the president-elect. I doubt that's going to happen. As it became evident that the Biden victory would be certified, Senator Leader Mitch McConnell privately signaled to several Republicans that they could support Romney's cross-the-aisle effort, recognizing moderate Republicans are more likely to prevail in 2022. Biden campaign organizes massive protests, enabling campaign to gain momentum in the battle for the public opinion. Violent skirmishes and vandalism, we'll see on that front. The night is young, but so far the first round seems to be going completely according to plan. Joint Chiefs leaking that internal dissections have happened about how to handle the escalating situation, including the consideration of resigning in protest of Trump's continued efforts to sow unrest. Well, good luck on that one. They've all been fired. The leak indicated that the Joint Chiefs' commitment was to the Constitution rather than to the president or to a particular party. So maybe they'll speak up after this. Whether the Senate will vote in agreement of the House on January 6th, the military made it clear that it's ready to support Biden as a newly inaugurated president on January 20th. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Sensing the election slipping away, right-wing media pursue particularly aggressive and provocative strategies. InfoWars doxes personal information on electors pledged to vote for Joe Biden. Trying to link them with like QAnon and George Soros, etc., etc. Rush Limbaugh and others accuse Biden campaign of accepting help from China, which is a thing they are trying to do. Meme pages, which have a 340% greater reach than any other piece of content on Facebook, saturated the online landscape, and appeals to defend the Constitution enemies of both foreign and domestic. Big spike in right-wing terrorism. Biden's electoral victory certified, but Trump refuses to leave the White House. Trump begins to burn documents and potentially incriminating evidence, continues to launch attacks against the legitimacy of the election. Trump releases a series of pardons from members of his administration as well as himself before the Secret Service escorts him out of the White House. But the Secret Service demonstrated a culture of professionalism. Well, we'll see on that. And then Trump goes to Trump TV, a new media outlet that is immediately upon founding its calls for the impeachment of President Biden. 2021, Biden begins a task of uniting the country, lingering COVID-19 related economic and health crisis, agrees to a set of packages focused on infrastructure and healthcare, COVID-19, and actively seeks to involve Senate Republicans in the process. Biden campaign announces that moderate Republican governors Larry Hogan and Charlie Baker will be nominated to serve in his cabinet. That sounds like a thing that will happen, though. President-elect also establishes a joint investigation into House and Senate Intelligence Committees to examine all forms of foreign interference in the 2020 election. We didn't see all that much of that this time. Biden campaign has originally sought to create a way out for Trump to concede the election during early turns. By the end of the game, though, the Democratic Party had begun investigations into the criminal activities of President Trump and his family. So it'll be rough, but they'll get through, I guess. Do you think there should be an age limit on how someone should be to run for president? Not necessarily, but it would be really nice if we could get somebody who was under the age of 80 to run for president. Can Biden govern through executive orders without a compliant Supreme Court? Not really, no. It's going to be a fucking shit show. What about a soldiers' revolt like in Russia? I mean, good luck. Maybe. I don't see a coup succeeding. That doesn't mean you won't try. At least see it crashing and burning pretty fast. But I see it crashing and burning really fast. Most Americans have too much faith in, quote, the process. I sincerely hope so. Like, if this all just sort of peters out and we just have a normal transition of some kind, I mean, it's already outside of normal, but if we go back to a more normal transition, then then okay. Two militaries in a civil war sounds like an award movie. Oh boy. Did you see the Bolsonaro statement threatening war with the U.S.? I have not. I know that he hasn't recognized Biden's victory, but I did not hear that he was threatening war with the U.S. Do you think Thatcher or Reagan hurt their country more? Oh boy. I feel like Thatcher has done more damage directly. Like, I feel like she took the UK from already a pretty bad position and made it even worse. And she's basically responsible for turning the United Kingdom now into a country that is basically London and then just like absolute devastation. Like, the rest of the country is just in absolute shambles except for London. That's basically the UK now. Reagan also was pretty terrible. It is a really hard to quantify. I don't know if I can make any equalized badness points for how much. They both did tremendous damage to their country, though. Because, yeah, they both ruined politics. They both basically deindustrialized their countries. It's just like, yeah, oh boy. I guess one kept healthcare but cut it, and the other one prevented it from happening. So, if they coup, you can bet your ass the Marine Battalion in D.C. and the D.C. National Guard, along with the VA and MD, would be rolling tanks down Pennsylvania Avenue. If you hope so. What the hell's going on with Peter Coffin? They're kind of spiraling and blocking everybody and kind of building this weird conspiracy theory that there's like a evil elite cabal of bread tubers that are just all neoliberals that just want to stem the left through YouTube videos. It's absolutely unhinged. Which is better, the Bonfire Night or the Independence Day? I have never seen either. Independence Day in America is... I've been told it's fun. I don't know what Bonfire Night's like in the UK, though. But I imagine they're both summertime activities mixed with fireworks. So I don't imagine there's anything better or worse than the other one. As someone who supported Biden, fact, as long as he's not a fascist, I'll be content enough. Oh boy, supporting Biden. Oh man, that just feels so icky. If the Supreme Court owed Trump their job is the thing and they know it, they know that there's massively underqualified and they would never have gotten the job otherwise. Yeah, there is that. Trump pushed Barrett so fast because he knew she'd rule with him. Mitch pushed Barrett so fast because his whole project has been remaking the federal judiciary and he knew this might be his last chance. Yeah. Barrett has more backbone than Brett, and I could see her ruling against him. You guys all have there's a lot, you guys are all just like little American patriots. You guys have faith that all of these systems that have been eroded over the decades are going to actually work. And ye of a lot of faith. I hope you're right. That'd be great. But I don't know. I have my expectations pretty low when it comes to American politicians. I guess I just won't. Don't trust old cismen to do the right thing. Yeah, exactly. Do we need to start thinking of veterans as victims rather than heroes? I think we should. I mean, that's better. I feel like we should probably think them as something between, like, the person who commits a murder but also was abused as a child. Where, like, oh boy, you did some bad stuff, but also you can have some empathy about how they came to where they are. A Biden supporter who admits they only voted for him just to get Trump out of office. Thanks for your honesty. I mean, yeah. Is there anybody who, like, actually voted for Biden who was like, man, really loving that Biden? Biden's so good. Can't wait to put my vote for Joseph Robinette Biden. That's a person I approve of. I don't know. I think you need more than 51 states, 51 votes in the Senate to make a state. Probably. That's true. Hey, thank you, Matt, for the $2 super chat. Coffin-making socialism with 4chan characteristics. Yeah, kinda. Their biggest issue is stuff to do with, like, us not being nice to Nazbols and stuff like that, so... And I think it was 8chan. Was 8chan the one that had Lefty Poll, which was, like, basically, like... the Nazbol hangout zone. Trista's an old white cis man. This is true. That's why you shouldn't trust me. Wait, I'm not old. I'm like 31. Come on. 31's not old. Please. Biden supported... yeah, that. I actually should look through the process of seeing what would need to happen in order for a state to be admitted into the Union. The wait time for a trial in Canada has been terrible for a long time. Oh, yeah, okay. There's a lot of people who seem to still have, what's it called? Who seem to have, like... just this, like, so much faith that the systems that have been just completely dropping the ball constantly for decades are going to perform this time. I don't know, after the 2000 election, because the 2000 election was basically a coup as well. And yet, nobody's, like, the Supreme Court still went with it. Though that was only one state. Would you rather an American Civil War or Trump taking dictatorial power? Which is least awful? God damn. That is not a... I mean, I don't think that Trump taking dictatorial power ends without civil war, so it's not like they're... I don't think you can have one... I don't think you can have dictatorial control without a civil war at some point, so I guess civil war, that sucks. I don't want to be an advocate for civil war. Okay. Are you from left or right? I am from up. I don't know, I'm an anarcho-socialist. A narco-communist. I'm the leftistest one. I'm so left. I'm left-handed. Peter is really petty and attacks anyone who disagrees with him. This is true. What type of tabletop RPGs do you like? Ooh. I mean, I play a shit ton of D&D 5e because that's just what everyone's playing. As you can see here. All of my books. As far as, like, other games, I haven't played a whole lot of other games. Because just like people aren't that into it, or people don't play other games. I did play. Oh, what did I play? I played the Sprawl, which was this powered by the apocalypse cyberpunk system that I liked a lot. And I played a little bit of Game and Fate. And I thought those were all good, although those two I had like kind of a GM who was a little antagonistic for my taste. So the games kind of got soured in my head a little bit. But I've been wanting to play other games a lot, but I just haven't had the opportunity because This is the life we live. Hello, Daddy's Doll 38. Oh boy, what a weird... That's a weird one. Okay. Funny how Biden supporters are telling Trump supporters to admit they lost for Biden to accept as a president, but won't accept that Trump was president for 4 years. What? Funny how Trump supporters are telling Trump supporters... Biden supporters are telling Trump supporters to admit they lost and accept Biden as their president, but wouldn't accept that Trump was president for 4 years? We mean they're not accepting. Nobody is unaccepting that Trump was president. What a weird thing to say. Could the parties do a great switch again and have the Republicans be socialists and the Democrats be conservatives? I do have like a fear that that could happen. That like if certain aspects of the Trump administration, like the economic nationalism and like populism pop, and that like the like Lincoln Project Republicans and like the neocons and stuff like that move over to the Democrats, then you could have this like very, very, very capitalist but socially woke Democratic Party, and then you could have this racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic like left-wing like almost socialist social democratic party. And that is a choice from absolute hell, I do have to say. Have you seen Biden release day one executive actions? What do you think? I haven't seen all of them. That he's making a big task force, that he's going to try and reunite the kids with their parents that have been separated in Trump's concentration camps. I prefer Trump and I'm not American. Well, that's cute. I'm glad that you can support somebody. You can support a fascist when, like, you're not the one who's going to suffer. Congratulations. Pat on the head. You can have a lollipop for that. Trying to remember what other executive actions he has. They're, as I said, it's the end of the day. My brain is not working super great. Why are you and others just now talking about the possibility of a military coup now? It's not like he couldn't fire all these people months ago. Because all of the stuff's happening now. We did talk about like how he has been setting up the pieces for, a few months. But, they're like, we have been talking about that. But the people didn't I don't know, like these military... The military coup was something that was considered a little bit off just because Biden had so much institutional support. And, the military coup aspect is still, like, less likely because there are people who are high up in the military who are not presidential appointees who might be able to put a stop on it. It really is just, like, more of a possibility than we thought it was because Trump just, like, fired everybody. Do you think a Green NDP merger would work, or would it be doomed to infighting? I mean, it would be doomed to infighting because the Green Party is not really that much of a left-wing party. It's kind of a right-wing party. Like the fact that... I can't remember what the new leader's name is anymore. I can't remember what her name is, but she, like, supported the coup in Bolivia and, like, all sorts of, less than stellar things. So I imagine it could cause there would be a lot of friction because the Green Party, despite being pro-environmentalism, is actually quite a right-wing party. At least they're not going to have Elizabeth May for very long to, like, waffle on whether or not abortion is good. Assuming the coup fails, who should try to primary Harris in 2024? AOC should probably try. I even imagine after 4 years, Elizabeth Warren might be able to make a go at it, although she wouldn't because she's afraid of upsetting the apple cart at all, in the party. So I imagine it's going to have to be AOC. It's the only person I could think of who's progressive and has a big enough platform that they could actually do it. I would love if Rashida Tlaib could do it, but I feel like America is so far from being ready for a Palestinian-American president. And also, I don't think she's shown that much interest in running for president. What do you think would happen if Trump tweeted at his Proud Boys to attack citizens and try to use military to attack cities? I don't know if the military would listen to him, but the Proud Boys might. The Proud Boys, didn't the Proud Boys just change into a neo-Nazi group like yesterday? Like they changed their name to the Proud Boys, and now they're a Nazi party. I'm trying to remember, but I thought something like that happened. Which is, that's disturbing. Very disturbing indeed. Such a farce. Biden, extremely racist. Trump, extremely racist. Both very incredibly old. People should petition for new choices. People should riot over that, not a false dichotomy. I mean, I don't disagree with you, Chris. Getting Americans to do anything, though, is kind of hard, because Americans don't really like democracy, or don't really like, standing up for things. They kind of just want the government to happen. They don't want to think about it. How'd you meet Mrs. Step Back History? How'd you propose? I bet it was cute as fuck. It wasn't. I met Kelly through OkCupid, which was a dating website. I don't know if it's still around, but it was in 2013. I had just moved to London a few months ago, and I was trying to date people. And I had gone on a few dates with some people, but Kelly's was the one that worked out, because we had a good time. We got coffee together, and it was a pretty fun experience all around. How did I propose is a disputed thing, because there wasn't any getting down on a knee and proposing thing. It was sort of like a thing that we were always we had lots of conversations about doing for years, and eventually we just got more real about it, and it eventually happened in 2016. So, by the way, Quantum Cactus, thank you for following, and Rim Job Charlie, Jesus Christ. So, yeah, unfortunately, nothing fancy happened. Eastern making up, sell their old cars in Missouri. I am from Western Europe. I want to die, no offense. Oh God, you, me both. I know a few good people in the military. I've met plenty who aren't sociopathic murderers. Still hate the military though, yeah. Military is, military, people being in the military is, it's a complicated thing, and it's not as simple as, they're all war criminals, and it's also not as easy as, they're all sad victims of a system greater than themselves. Because they did make an intentional choice to join a group that is literally designed for killing people and spreading empire. But also, it's a heavily propagandized society, and it's heavily propagandized society, and at the same time, a group of people who are often exploited for being economically desperate. So it's kind of like a complicated question, and the internet doesn't like complicated answers to questions. I guess it's kind of messed up how a lot of the military 18 and younger. Yeah. They recruit in high schools and shit. What do paleontologists do when they find ancient remains of animals that still exist? I don't know. Probably the same thing they do when they find ancient remains of animals that don't still exist. Preserve the fossils, analyze them, see how the bones have changed between living examples of that and past examples. I don't know if there's any species that exist from millions of years ago. But there's like, phenotypes. Like there's still crocodiles, but whether they didn't have like the American crocodile like 300 million years ago. So they study like, how they've changed and how they've evolved. So that's about as far as I can know. I want an AOC presidential ticket so badly, it's true. And man, I just like, I kind of like, some part of me just wants to go, fuck it, like Bernie. Bernie should run in 2024, fuck it. Hey, Beans by Tay. Thank you for following. Welcome to the Org Gang. I bet your beans are amazing. I disagree with Step Back History's conclusions on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Listen, my thing with that Israeli-Palestinian conflict is that there's this country that used to be full of brown people, and then 70-something years ago, a group of white people decided that they wanted to put white people where brown people were, and started putting people in cages and refugee camps and killing them en masse and starving them and poisoning them and dropping white phosphorus on them in order to make them go away so that there can be more land that used to be where brown people lived so they can put more white people on it. And I am, as a person who lives in a country that used to be full of non-white people that then were displaced and killed so that white people could live there, I have, a bit of a stake saying maybe we shouldn't do that. Bolsonaro is planning on no longer running again because of Trump's loss. Oh, double win. You don't have a work, let me guess. Bernie's People's Army of America. Oh boy, you ready to pick up what's it called? Pick up a weapon and do push-ups and go to paramilitary training and look at your fellow human beings in the eye as you push a trigger and destroy their bodies with weapons, and then watch as somebody's father or brother or sister or mother brutally dies in horrible violence, and you think you're ready to do that for Bernie? You ready? Hey, Cyberflota, thank you for the super chat. $10. Holy moly, thank you. What are the historical precedents for how societies healed and united after significant socio-political strife and conflict? Wonder how to even begin moving forward here. Love your videos. The best example I could think of, and probably something that I would recommend, maybe I'll make a video about it, it maybe sometime in the new year when, if Trump is firmly part of the past. Maybe I'll make a video, but basically, South Africa probably had the best answer, which is they did something called the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which was this process to try and move on from the apartheid era. It wasn't perfect, but what they did do to try and fix things, to bring their society back together, was they basically were like, all right, we want everybody to say what happened. We want everybody involved in the government to come forward. We'll make a blanket promise that, like, you're not going to go to prison for the horrible things that have happened. You're not going to get put on trial. But what we're going to do is we're going to have a moment where we are going to investigate and find out the true extent of all of the dark, evil shit that happened during the regime. And then once we have aired it all out and we have come to we have learned the full truth about just how bad everything went, then comes reconciliation. Then comes trying to figure out how do you rebuild trust, rebuild a relationship from the ground up there, knowing that we have fully aired out, made an official apology, and start to rebuild a relationship. That's sort of the take I would have. Reagan killed millions of Americans by not doing shit about AIDS. That's true. I forgot about AIDS. Independence Day is hell on people who don't like loud noises and barbecues and all. Yeah, but Bonfire Night is also fireworks and barbecues. It's just a British version of it. Do you like TTRPGs other than D&D? I want to try them. There's a game that I bought, I kickstarted like a couple years ago called oh god, what was it called? Quest. That was sort of like a D&D version of the game that is more story focused and has had a lot of the, mechanics, like a lot of the heavy mechanics. Like I have a feeling, like I haven't played a whole lot of games that are not D&D, but I feel like if I was playing an RPG that was a little bit more rules light and a little bit more story focused and less preoccupied with like mechanics and character builds, that I would like it a lot more. But I've never been able to do that because it's kind of the game everybody plays, so D&D is basically what you're stuck with. But like, someday I would love to, and like the game that I'm like a player in, the group I think is interested in moving towards Pathfinder, which is even less of what I want, so I might not stick around all that long. But I would love to have, I would love to check out more games. But anybody who plays tabletop games knows that trying to get a group together for any tabletop game that's not D&D is super, super hard. Are you imagining a scenario where we go into January assuming there will be a peaceful transition of power, then the military just refuses to turn over the nuclear codes at the last minute? Or do you think we'll know before that? I think we'll know before that. It'll become increasingly clear that the military is on Trump's side as we get closer to the day. I have no faith in the U.S. judicial system. I however think that some idea of the personalities of the people who have been on the SCOTUS for a while now. I hope so. What's it called? Clarence Thomas fucking owes it to Joe Biden. Joe Biden basically verbally assaulted a woman on live television in front of millions of people to get Clarence Thomas onto the Supreme Court bench. So he at least one conservative Supreme Court justice owes Biden bigly. But conservatives don't really care about that kind of shit, so who knows? Thank you for following Round Midnight. Much appreciated. Welcome to the gang. Welcome to Rikers Raiders. Do I like Dragon Ball? I liked it when I was a teenager. A bit too old for it now. I think it's kind of a kid's show, isn't it? Can we see the system of running like the Roman Republic and we see perhaps first citizen Joe Biden? You wish. Oh no. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. It's not going to go like Rome, though. Rome was a very different country. Roberts in particular is a conservative, but he cares about his own legacy as Chief Justice. He's also not dumb and knows that SCOTUS overturns a clear election and his legacy includes the end of the U.S. Guess there's that. I wish I had faith in people who voted for things like Citizens United basically destroyed American democracy, and they all voted for that, so I don't know. Hey, Carrie, thank you for the $2 super chat. That's so awesome of you. What do you think of weaponizing federalism? Can you clarify? What do you mean by weaponizing federalism? Sent you the Bolsonaro with a translation via Twitter, Deem, if you want to check it out later. Thank you. I did see the DMs. I just was going to look at them after the stream was over. Other than Canada, what countries would be the first place to open up for Americans to find asylum if the coup succeeds? I imagine Mexico. Mexico and Canada are the ones that share land borders, so that'd probably be the most likely people to sort of have that conversation. You let states opt out of welfare, and you bump it up tons, like Medicare for all for blue states. I mean, I don't. I'm not really into like abandoning people in states just because their governments are full of shit or their governments are, run by sadistic conservatives. I don't know. I don't really want to do that. I don't want to have a bunch of people. Like, if America's going to get health care, everybody should get health care, not just some people because they're Democrats. That's my... I don't... That's my hope. Okay. Is it bad to think that Ben Shapiro is cute? No. Why would it be bad to think that he's cute? Just because he's evil doesn't mean he's not cute. Cis men that are younger than me, like Tristan, are 50-50 trustworthy. All right, I'll take 50-50. I think you're still being optimistic about cis men that are younger than you, but I will take it. I will 100%. Like, what's it called? I don't think we've earned 50-50, but if you want to put your trust in me, I mean, I'll try my best. I'll try not to cis men it all up. Majority of the Supreme Court ruled in favor of gay rights, and they're signaling that they're going to uphold Obamacare. Doesn't that indicate that they're not totally loyal to Trump? I hope so. That's it. I hope so. I don't like that it's in question. I don't like that it's like a thing that we're relying on some of the most conservative... some of the most conservative Supreme Court justices in American history to uphold the integrity of an election when they've already made very large Supreme Court decisions in the past to make elections less democratic already. So, thoughts on the FLQ? So, for anyone who doesn't know, the FLQ is the Front de Libération de Québec, which Phoebe's being cute. That's actually Romeo. Phoebe's is actually off camera. She's in the room too, but she's the FLQ. So the Front de Libération de Québec is sort of like a Marxist Quebec nationalist group that that became notable because in 1970 they kidnapped an MP and an ambassador from the UK and murdered one of them, and it led to the Prime Minister at the time, Pierre Trudeau, to declare martial law on Quebec and crack down on leftist and Quebec nationalist leaders. I mean, I have complicated feelings about Quebec nationalism. I think that I don't think it's beneficial for Quebec at this point in its history. Maybe that's just because I'm not a map go change guy. I don't think that Quebec on its own would fare super great. Doesn't have the resources, doesn't really have the... And also, Quebec's history, I feel like Quebec nationalists are misunderstanding that, Quebecois culture and Canadian culture are so entwined with each other that sort of taking one, like saying that one is, that they're two different societies feels wrong to me. And as somebody who is of Quebecois ancestry, who grew up in Ontario, it hits quite close to home for me. Half my family lives in Canada and half my family lives in Quebec, and it would make me very sad. The FLQ, I feel like kidnapping and killing people was not like some people think it was an accident. I don't think it was an effect of its time. I definitely wouldn't put them on the list of people that I think are bona fide good people, but I do think that Quebec nationalists really overplay the oppression of French Canadians and Canadian culture, especially today. But it's more of, and also in the 90s sort of outed itself to be more of like a white supremacist nationalist movement, because it's not so much about, Quebec being able to preserve its culture as it is about, like, things like Bill 21, which is basically banning Muslims from wearing hijabs and having public jobs. Hey, great Scott 815, thank you for subscribing, much appreciated. Keeping the cats fed, much appreciated. So yeah, so on the FLQ thing, I think that kidnapping people and killing one of them was not exactly the greatest path towards not the greatest path towards justice or a better lot in life for the Quebecois people. But that's just me. 2000 election was what made me give up. I was 12. Yeah, I think I was 2000. I would have been. Yeah, I think I was 12 too. Maybe 11, something like that. I guess it would have been 12 because the Supreme Court decision was a little bit later. Hey, Beans by Tay, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for giving me some beans. I'm getting very strong anti-murder vibes. Yeah, that's my general take is, murder not good. Okay. Think you should see a civil majority become a state? Oh man, if Puerto Rico becomes a U.S. state, it would fucking change American politics forever. If Puerto Rico became a state, the Republican Party would cease to be a political party, or at least one that can hold any sort of reasonable power, unless they had some like major changes, like major changes. What are my thoughts on the Electoral College? I mean, it's bad. It's a terribly thought out system that is designed to be anti-democratic. Because, hey, there's a here. Thank you for following. Welcome to the Orc Gang. Because, like, it was designed. So, all right. Do you want the history lesson? I guess I'll give you the history lesson. You guys like history lessons. So, there was this period in American history that we don't talk about very much, although we really should, because it's very interesting and possibly was even a better system than America has now, which was like the first 11 or so years of the American country after the Revolution, which was it's typically called the Articles period, or the Articles of Confederation period, which was this period where the United States was more something akin to the European Union, maybe even less of the European Union, because I think they even had their own currencies at this point. But basically, the Articles of Confederation was this period where the United States was 13, more or less 13 sovereign countries that could only decide on things if all 13 decided to do something when they met up in Philadelphia every once in a while. And that was like all they had as a federal government. Other than that, they were just 13 co-equal states that sort of had a mutual defense pact. In the sense, no military. There was no American military. There was only 13 different state militias that were basically just bound to defend each other in times. And yeah, that was basically it. But then it became kind of unwieldy for states to control the poor. They didn't like that. They didn't like that poor people were starting to say, hey, this revolution that you didn't really do a whole lot for me, who's still poor. So after a serious rebellion in 1789, they decided to make a new country that was had a lot more of a strong centralized government, and that's when they made the Constitution and sort of the America that you remember. And even before then, there was no president. So for these first 11 years of the United States, there wasn't a president of the United States. And when they were deciding about, okay, how do we get all 13 of these states to join the Constitution, they were like, okay, well, we have to have a body of government that's going to represent the people, like the population. But then someone was like, hey, I'm like Connecticut. I'm the Connecticut delegation. You need Connecticut to get on board. So how do you get Connecticut to come on board when like our state is like 6 inches long and has like 4 people in it? And, if you do this, then all of those slave owners with all their slaves in South Carolina are going to overwhelm all of our representation. And they're like, okay, well, we'll also have a branch of government that is made up of two delegates from each state. And we'll call them senators. And then the people in the South were like, hey, buddy, I don't like that because it's bad. How are we going to choose a leader? And so they went through various options. There was everything that ranged from like Benjamin Franklin, who wanted something kind of close to like what happened in Switzerland, where there was like a council of 5 presidents that would sort of have to decide on all the things that presidents decide on. And actually, that didn't sound like a bad idea to me. And all the way to people like Alexander Hamilton, who wanted basically a king. Like they wanted not a hereditary king, but basically they wanted a president when elected to rule for life, and then they would choose a new president once the president was dead. And so they wanted to replace King George III with King George I. And so it's like this whole big range. And so they're like, how do we do this? How do we get 13 goddamn states to get on the same page about this when there's so many different interests and all those things? And instead of just being like, well, why don't we just keep the Articles of Confederation because that seems to be working, they had to be like, no. So now they invented the Electoral College, which was this idea that was supposed to sort of be a compromise between proportional representation, so popular vote, and the states each having their own sort of say in things. But unfortunately, this was just supposed to be like a temporary compromise until somebody could figure it out, because they expected the Constitution to kind of get rewritten every few years or so. But, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, then Americans started worshiping the Constitution like it was some sort of paper deity, so it never changed. But essentially, it is what it does. And in America that was very rural at the time, most people were farmers in America until like the 20th century. It worked okay because I think there was like one electoral college victory in the 19th century. Something like that. Or two actually, there were 2. And most of the time it was because they came to a deal for who was going to be president rather than actually electing the president, because American government has always been super corrupt. Anyways, so this system sort of works if the population is sort of distributed in a very rural sense. What it doesn't factor in, though, is that the Electoral College and urbanization sort of don't mix super great, because what's happening is you have, in America, you have states emptying out, people moving out of states, because there are states in the United States that basically have declining governments that are on their way towards extinction. To the point where there are parts of the U.S. now that have a population density so low that that they can't actually be considered, like, theoretically, they should not be considered actual settled territory anymore. Like, there's parts of the United States where, if it had been the 19th century, would still be considered frontier, which the frontier officially closed in the 1890s. So, like, that's pretty intense. So what's happening is that more and more people are concentrating in smaller and smaller areas as people move into cities and stop working on farms. And that's not something that, the people in the 18th century anticipated, obviously. So what happens is as this gets more and more exaggerated, states with small populations still get outsized representation, because Wyoming has so few people in it that it only has one at-large member of the House, but has 2 senators. So it gets 3 electoral college votes, despite the fact that that makes no sense. Because it basically means that if you vote in Wyoming, you have like your vote for president is worth like 600 times more than someone who lives in California. And on top of that, it means that because of the whole kind of like legacy of the Articles of Confederation, that it basically is like 50 separate elections, which means that if you vote in like a deep blue state like California, but you're a Republican, your vote means absolutely nothing. Or if you're like my wife, who voted Democrat in Indiana, which is a deep red state and becoming even more conservative over time, it also means nothing, and it's bad, and it should be replaced by the popular vote. You would think. Probably the Senate too, if you can get at it. Wyoming anarchist here. That's great. I love Wyoming. I've been there. I went to I'm trying to remember what's in Wyoming. Is Yellowstone in Wyoming? Yeah, I've been to Yellowstone. That was it. Great land. You're a leftist Missourian? Ha! I've been to Missouri too. I have been to both St. Louis and Kansas City. Everyone's just going to say, what part of the United States you're from, and I will tell you if I've been there. I think there's like 5 or 6 states I haven't been to, so I can do this. You heard there's going to be an anti-masker Trump rally in Toronto. Are you glad you aren't in Toronto to deal with this bullshit? I mean, all I have to do is not go outside. But, I mean, it is bullshit, and I hate how Toronto, or how, like, politics ruins or how American politics ruins everything. And, oh boy, I'm really behind on the chat today, boyos. Okay. Okay. You heard there's going to be... Oh, yeah. What happens if the military refuses to acknowledge the election results, but the Supreme Court rules in Biden's favor? I would say that the answer is the people with guns are the ones who win. I feel like there's a not insignificant part of America that would be perfectly happy to waking up one day and seeing a person in a uniform saying, all right, we don't have to have elections anymore. You don't have to think about politics. We solved it. Politics is over. Now we're just a dictatorship. There's people who would be happy with that because they don't want to think about things, especially if the economy does well. I love the Sprawl, though, with the mods to them. Yeah, when I was playing the Sprawl, I played a character that was sort of the group's... I think they're called the Tech. I think the Tech was the name of the class, or not the class, or whatever they call it, the worksheet, anyway. I played the Tech, and also I had my Tech focus in cybernetics. And so her character was like a biohacker. She was like a biohacker that was based on one of my favorite biohackers named Left Anonym. So she went by the name Anonym. And basically, like, I chose like points to have like extra pieces of cybernetics. And the sort of storyline I went with her was that she had she ran like in the cyberpunk dystopia, she was sort of like a open source person. And ran these cybernetics versions of like one of those like those sketchy cell phone stores that would like jailbreak she would like jailbreak people's cybernetics for them. And so that was fun. That was a fun character. I haven't thought about Anonym in a long time. She was just a fun character. But because of the way that our party worked too, is that my character had to be like all of the... She was also basically like half that and that half tech, and then also half like the one who knew how to shoot guns and knew how to do like physical prowess stuff because she was the cyborg. But also the two other characters chose like the social media guru, or no, there's like one where you're basically like a cult leader, and then there's another one where your entire thing is that you have a car. And my character was like, I guess I have to do all of the spying and acrobatic stuff, and so it was fun. Good old cyborgs. Do you ever get annoyed that QAnon types are totally misunderstanding V for Vendetta is against fascism and use the Guy Fawkes mask to support fascists? I don't know if I get annoyed because it's just like it's a movie, but it's definitely like they're definitely missing the point. The first tabletop I did was Pathfinder, which was fun. Pathfinder just feels like too much for me. It's like 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons. It's like, okay, I don't need 1,000 words to understand the sleep spell. I don't really like when I play tabletop games, I don't get this opportunity because none of my friends like these kinds of games. But me personally, I would prefer more rules light, story focused RPGs rather than these like crunchy character sheet optimization RPGs. And but unfortunately, like none of my friends are into it, so I don't play them. And when I played, my character in the Fate game was an uplifted panda bear who was a powerful traitor and criminal. And so like in Fate, so Fate's like one of those RPG systems that's designed to like play in any system. And when I looked around at all the stats, like they have like a lot of different things you can be good at. And I was like, what if my character was bad at everything but had like godly stats in a thing called resource, which is just supposed to be like how generally well connected and rich your character is. And so I was like, okay, this character is just like loaded out the wazoo, and also is an uplifted panda bear who doesn't do drugs, doesn't like he's like a complete like criminal mastermind, but doesn't do drugs, doesn't do anything, just is like really likes candy. Candy was his like thing. And collecting like ancient 20th century artifacts and stuff like that. It was a fun character. His name was Blitz Carlton, and he was great. I always kind of fall in love with my my RPG characters in different ways. People slightly slower. It won't be a great switch. Yeah, if you think about it, both parties will be so pro. If both parties basically commit to being right-wing economically, then it will be more. Then then doesn't really matter what part. Then every election is going to split between who is woke and unwoke, and you won't have any side that actually takes economic justice seriously. And so you might see like kind of the more Nazball-y, less politically correct socialists voting for the Republicans because at least that person lets them say the N-word, while more woke socialists vote for Democrats because Democrats at least stop people from saying the N-word. And so, and in the end, until some political party decides to have an economic message, you're not going to see anything. You do play Masks, the new generation on it. I've heard Masks is good. My friend Shannon plays it on a podcast, and it sounds like it's a pretty fun game. I love all of the Powered by Apocalypse games. And if there's one burning desire in my belly to sometime do, it's either to run or to play a Powered by the Apocalypse campaign, because I want to do like a more like kind of like story focused RPG like that. The actual steps towards a military coup are pretty recent. This is true. What are your thoughts on democratic centralism in response to organizing on a basis of United Front sentiments? I don't even know where to start with that sentence. What do you even mean? Hey, Frail Vegan, thank you for following. And also, Tilly Q, I forgot about, and the Zahir. Sorry for not mentioning. Thank you guys all for following. Let's see. Mike Pompeo is the former director of the CIA. He knows what Trump knows. The swamp is going to jail. Trump is golfing while Pompeo is laughing while saying this. None of them are worried. Can't wait. Can't wait! Can't wait! Who is this? Disturbing. There's going to be a military coup, and you're like, oh man, can't wait to see all the people die. You're probably a fascist. You're probably like, oh, can't wait for the day of the rope. In which case, fuck you and the horse you rode in on. Can't wait till the person who lost the election wins it by doing a military coup. You skipped one of my questions. Okay, I'm sorry. The chat, I'm losing the archive of the chat now, so I have to save things, and I think I might have lost some. Are you actually left-handed? Yes, I am. I am actually left-handed. If you were any of the stereotypes about left-handed people true, like being more creative and being more right-brain people, we have to admit, I don't know. I think it's not true. I don't think that the whole like left brain, right brain thing is a bit of a myth, but because I could be very logical and step space to an almost like I don't fit the left right brain. Just like how I don't fit a lot of those like you're either an extrovert or an introvert, and it's like no, I can't do either really. Like I'm what's it called? I'm not. I can be very logical and very list oriented, but I'm also a full time artist as a person. So obviously, Pete Buttigieg's solution to the problem. Well, yeah, obviously, there's a solution. OkCupid is still around, but it's still a bad knocked off of Tinder now. Oh well. When Kelly and I met, Tinder had just been getting started. I loaded it up for like one night, and because I look like this, my Tinder responses were like all spam. It was all 100% spam, and so I was like, okay, no one's swiping right on this mug. So I turned it off and went back to OkCupid, where at least you have to like answer personality questions or whatever. Why does Lauren Chen still think white nationalists think of her as an equal? I don't know if she does. Maybe she says that publicly, but I feel like, she's got to be in on the grift. What would a coup in the U.S. mean for my and your countries? I don't know. There's a whole lot of things like again, I'm sorry that I keep defaulting to this, but I don't know. And anybody who tells you they do know is lying. Okay. How different do you think Canada would be if Upper and Lower Canadian Rebellion succeeded in kicking the British out of Canada? Good. Oh, hey, modestly priced receptacle. Thank you for following. Welcome to the Orc Gang. If Canada was like some sort of like republic, I mean, we'd probably be pretty different. We'd probably because so much of Canadian identity is focused on being like very like loyal to Britain. Without that, what Canadian identity would be is completely anybody's guess. We might honestly, if those rebellions were successful, we probably would have been annexed into the United States at some point. That's my guess. Like, we would have become independent, and then before long, like, American settlers would have started coming into the country, and at some point, Upper and Lower Canada would have we'd become North and South Canada, and we'd be two states in the United States. If you had to bet on whether the U.S. would have a military coup, which way would you bet? You keep trying to get me to answer a question that I have repeatedly said I don't know the answer to. I don't know. I would bet I would if I had to put money down with no choice, and you were literally going to murder me if I didn't do it. I would probably say no, just because it hasn't happened before. And if it does happen, we'll be in political hell chaos anyway, so it doesn't matter. Any thoughts on the Nagorno-Karabakh peace agreement? Is that the peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan right now? I don't know too much. If not, I don't know anything about it. And even if I do, don't know anything about it. Jews or white people, don't let the Nazis here say that. Jews can be all sorts of different skin colors. You should hear this thing about how black Jews, like Ethiopian Jews, when they go to Israel, get treated like shit. Or, Palestinian Jews. Or, any other groups of people. It's what's it called? The sort of like project in Israel is European ancestry Jews who are predominantly like white. It's definitely like it definitely, even though it's it's not on paper, in practice it's definitely like a white nationalist organization, because like they don't accept like Jews from the Middle East. They don't accept Jews from like Africa. They just or they do, but they treat them like second class citizens. I don't think Yeab's gonna like that answer. Okay. I don't know if Yeab's even here anymore. Okay. Where was my text file? Here we go. Ruining socialism in America. What's socialism in America? Yeah, fair. Just have all these assholes going to the NDP or labor rallies yelling, "What do you want socialism?" when Bernie Bros killed my grandpa. That is a thing that you have to worry about. Okay. See how close I am to being caught up on the chat. I don't know if I'm gonna get caught up to it. I don't think I'm gonna get caught up to the chat before the end of the stream, which is in 7 minutes. Is it normal to be proud of the company you work for? Yesterday, someone on Reddit was telling me that it's what it's like to be a kitchen manager at a Longhorn Steakhouse. At one point, they said that they thought that, and I thought it was weird, but then I'm a leftist. I mean, if you really love your job, that's great. So few people get to have that privilege. And if you do get that privilege, what, is Tristan ending an hour early? No, the stream. I'm ending the streams at 9 from now on because I'm trying to prevent burnout, especially on Tuesdays because like my freaking I work all day and I don't want to work all night too. But I'm glad if someone really likes their job, then like all power to them. That makes me happy. But and I know that like kind of like loyalty to your workplace. Like honestly, I wish that everybody's jobs were good enough that they could do that. And if they had more stake in their outcome, no pun intended, then there'd be more people who would be like proud of the company or the the organization they work for. Yeah. I love Bernie's policies and all his experience, but Dang will be old in 2024. That's true. But like the problem is that we don't really have like Bernie is the only like high profile politician who has like who actually like we feel like AOC comes close, but she's still very early in her career, like very early in her career. She's been a politician for like 2 years. It's still like really early in like the overall political career, and so there's not because like boomers and Gen Xers don't typically become what's it called? They don't typically become like they didn't get into socialism because Cold War shit, and so there's very few people to choose from. AOC might be the best chance we got. Called U Realms is interested in only able to do 2 games in the past 3 years. Ah, beans. Oh, I'm almost caught up. Wait, I am caught up. Nice. I thought you almost became a paleontologist in uni. No, I wanted to become a evolutionary biologist. And And I didn't really get that far with that either. I was going to become like I did this thing where I was trying to like get myself some high school credits so that I could even apply to university for science. And I didn't even come close. I barely even started, and I was like, actually, I'm just going to do the humanities. This isn't my thing. Also, I'm in a group that alternates between Savage Worlds and Star Wars, both as long-form campaigns. If one of the players in Star Wars is actively at college who plays Savage Worlds without her is basically what that is. That sounds like fun. Was Rome a country? It's easier to say it's a country than, like... Countries as a concept didn't really exist until the Treaty of Westphalia, so no, technically. But it's an easy enough word to use to understand the past with the present context. Or the present, mentality. What developed countries do you believe could have committed crimes against humanity over the last 70 years, excluding all acts that are evident and already mainstream? I don't even know how to answer that question. I mean, the United States has most definitely done some evil shit that we haven't even heard of yet. For sure. Would American Civil War be the end of the American Empire? I mean, definitely make it harder. It's hard to maintain a global hegemonic empire while there's a war happening at home. That's true. What is sexist political pundit? I don't know what that means. You mean sexiest? Oh boy. I feel like that is not a thing I should be saying in my, And we are getting close to the end of the stream, so I feel like we're not gonna be able to answer every question. I normally get caught up with the chat, but there's so many of you here. We're getting to the point where I'm not going to be able to keep up with the chat anymore. And Mia gave me some pretty good advice after the last stream that I should probably try very hard to keep up with the chat, and so I'm gonna have to try and find a new way to get questions that I don't have quite yet, but I'll have to figure out. Is Civil War the state as an intrastate war? I think so, yeah. There's one's about to break out in Ethiopia, and no one's talking about that one very much. How do you think about the down ballot races will affect the possibility of a coup? I don't think it'll matter much at all. If the Republicans hold the Senate, then coup away. Are you just spamming random disconnected questions without engaging at all? Yeah. 255 is kind of obsessed with asking questions, and so he maintains a text file filled with whatever random questions he comes across and then dumps them on me whenever I stream. That's as far as I can pick up. Would be amazing. Puerto Rico, Guam, DC. Yeah, Guam and DC would be good. Puerto Rico just recently had a referendum on statehood that passed, so it's the timing could not be better. Someone wants to know things. It's good to have a curious mind and want to ask questions. Not just me. Okay. On that note, it is actually 9 o'clock, and I'm going to have to take my leave of you as I go and chill out a little bit before going to bed. Oh, boy. So we got to find someone who's just not playing Valhalla. You want to go? Let's go raid Ben Dixon. He seems pretty cool. This is a pretty good stream, and I will, we've done well, and I hope you guys have an amazing evening. Benjamin P. Yeah, here we go. Everybody have a great night. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. And let's hope that I'm completely wrong about all this coup business and we can just go back to brunch. Wouldn't that be great? And I'll see you all on, what's it called? I'll see you all on, what's that day? Friday. See ya.